Yes, where do we stop?
See.
Your question. Okay. Attack.
Whoever thinks that I'm doing it because of something is bound by karma and not
No, no, Krishna is beyond the laws of karma, but that activity is within the karma system. That activity comes under karma. It's not karma. There's only karma, jnana, and bhakti. There are only three processes that are taught in the Vedas. So that activity is not bhakti. If it is bhakti, then every jivatma should do it. Jaiva dharma. And the more you do it, the better it is. Bhakti activities are meant to be increased. If getting married is also part of devotion service, then everybody should marry more and more and more. The more he has to progress now. There is a very silly misconception. It's not under particular circumstance karma is all bhakti and all. Sometimes the expression is used. It's a very complicated discussion that you will come across in Bhakti Sandarbha. When you come to Bhaktivedanta studies at that time, you will come to that. Sometimes it's just like, okay, let me just give a simple example. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also says when you engage in material duties in Krishna service, then that is accepted as Gauna Bhakti, secondary Bhakti. It is not Mukhya Bhakti. So at the very least, you'll have to say, how much more we can encourage these people. To encourage, we use all fancy expressions, but ultimately, when it says that you must engage in pure devotion service, that to Kevala Bhakti means you engage only in Mukhya Bhakti, don't engage in Gauna Bhakti at all. If you use these expressions, Mukhya Bhakti, Gauna Bhakti, then you'll have to say that in track 1, okay, or track 2. You say, no, we'll go to track 1 itself. Or you say the first stage, what is actually happening? They're spending more time in Gauna Bhakti, less time in Mukhya Bhakti every day. And in the middle stage, what are they doing? More time is going in Mukhya Bhakti, less time is going in Gauna Bhakti every day. The highest stage, only Mukhya Bhakti, no time for Gauna Bhakti. All of them reject every other activity. That means they reject even karma and jnana when they are not performed in service to Krishna. When you don't engage in the activity of karma and Krishna consciousness, or jnana and Krishna consciousness, or yoga and Krishna consciousness, that is rejected. But when you accept all of these things in Krishna consciousness, it can be accepted as Gauna Bhakti. That's all. Still, there is a distinction between Mukhya Bhakti and Gauna Bhakti. So that has to be remembered. That has to be remembered. A lot of confusion has come about because a simple thing like this is being mixed up.
In the purport, it was mentioned that even devotional service needs to be like at the initial stage, devotional service will be mixed with this jnana and
It may be mixed. It may be mixed. That's what was said. Not that everyone should.
But the pure thing is without like what one should practice is don't touch symbols at all.
Yeah, we all have to come to this point. To come to the third stage of devotion.
Directly one should not practice that only bhakti, like leaving aside karma.
That is called track 3. One can go into track 3 and one can directly come. Provided he has faith and enthusiasm. Possible. But that faith and enthusiasm means he's going up, he doesn't go down. And he doesn't go out of this. All of that should be clarified. Doesn't mix it with something else, doesn't mix it with offenses, sinful activities, and all. All those considerations are there.
Like in this 15th one also it will mention that one who worships with great devotion never return to this dwelling world.
Right now we'll see text 16. Right now we'll see. Okay, text 16.
From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, repeated birth and death takes place. But one who attains to my abode, puts on a complete, never takes further.
Though those who do not worship me may attain Swarga by their particular karmas, they fall from those words. The letter A in A Brahma Bhuvanaloka, A. The letter A with Brahma here means that the jivas attain worlds up to and including Brahmaloka. All the jivas residing in Swarga and other planets, along with those on Brahmaloka, return to the earth and take birth after exhausting their karmas. The Lord repeats the words Mamupetya mentioned in the first line of the previous verse to strengthen his statement. Attaining me, those pure devotees do not take birth again. This should be understood. Those who attain Brahmaloka by sacrificing themselves at death through knowledge of the 5 fires, Panchagni Vidya, that Chandogya Upanishad, will fall after the completion of their enjoyment. This is just ordinary standard karma kanda process. But those who are Swanishta devotees of the Supreme Lord, experiencing one after another all the different planets, do not fall after going there. With the destruction of those planets, they, along with the ruler of the planet, go to the Supreme Lord's planet. Brahmana sahate sarve samprapte sprati sanchare parasyante kritatmana pravishanti parampadam. Those who are on Brahmaloka with the exalted status at the time of dissolution go directly to the supreme abode along with Lord Brahma. So the fall down that does not take place is this kind of fall down. When you go to the heavenly planets, you automatically will fall down. You cannot say, I like the heavenly planets. They'll simply say, sorry, your visa is a temporary visa. And this is how it is. But when you attain the supreme abode of the Supreme Lord, you don't have that kind of Swargavat Pata, that kind of fall down, the way you would fall down from the heavenly planets. That does not mean that you cannot choose to leave the spiritual world by your own choice. That's a different issue. Just like if you get a green card for America, you don't have to leave America. But we all know hundreds and thousands of people with green card, they may choose to go to some other country or go to their native country also. That freedom is there. So when you attain the Supreme Lord's abode, you don't have to fall down. Whenever it says you don't fall down, you don't fall down, you don't fall down, all that, it means you don't automatically fall down. Because when you go to Swarga, you automatically fall. There's no choice and all that. Your karma is depleted, the reactions to your pious activities is depleted. You're kicked out, that's all. You have to leave. Like it or not, you have to leave. That situation is not there with Vaikuntha. The reason why Krishna has to specify that is because Krishna is also one of the worshipable deities in Vedic culture. Vishnu is also one of the worshipable deities. So then one may think, okay, so what, I go to Indra's world after I worship, for how long do I stay? That question will naturally come. So for how long will Krishna allow me to be in Vaikuntha? That question will come. Therefore, Krishna has to underline that point. He has to underscore that point. No, you don't fall. You don't fall. You go to Swarga, you fall. But you go to, basically you cross Brahmajyoti. You don't have to fall. If you want, you can, that's a different thing. What you want to do afterwards is a different thing. Or even this Swarga, by default you fall. Okay. But if you practice Krishna consciousness there, you can progress. So everywhere you will notice that exceptional arrangement. All kinds of yogis, karma, jnana, hatha, etc., eventually have to attain devotional perfection in Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness before they can go to Krishna's transcendental abode and never return. Those who attain the highest material planets, the planets of the demigods, are again subjected to repeated birth and death. As persons on earth are elevated to higher planets, people on higher planets such as Brahmaloka, Chandraloka, and Indraloka fall down to earth. The practice of sacrifice called Panchagni Vidya, recommended in the Chandogya Upanishad, enables one to achieve Brahmaloka. But if on Brahmaloka one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he must return to earth. Those who progress in Krishna consciousness on the higher planets are gradually elevated to higher and higher planets, and at the time of universal devastation are transferred to the eternal spiritual kingdom. Baladev Vidyabhushan in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita quotes this verse. Brahmana Sahat. Okay, you have the old edition, no?
It is not.
This verse is not there.
No.
Check if the translation is there. Baladev Vidyabhushan in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita quotes this verse. Brahmana Sahate Sarve Samprapte Pratisanchare Parasyante Kritatmanam Pravishanti Parampadam. When there is devastation of this material universe, Brahma and his devotees who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness are all transferred to the spiritual universe and to specific spiritual planets according to their desires. That is that.
Translate.
The translation is there. Does it come inside quotation marks? No.
Right.
I'm one of the persons who doesn't actually hate the first edition. Sometimes we will see, I'll show you one place where there is something there which is not here. It's useful to have someone always checking that.
Let's say in the commentary by that the people, the celestial devotees who go to Swarga, they go with the deities of that planet after death, like they go to the upper planets. Like, he doesn't go himself. Along with the deities, he goes.
Yeah, if the deity is generally more qualified than he's one level higher, department head. Right? So he goes, everyone goes. Generally. Brahma Mukti. And this verse, Shankaracharya quotes this verse, Madhvacharya quotes this verse, Ramanujacharya quotes this verse, everybody quotes this verse, famous verses, Brahmana Sahate Sarve. In their commentaries on Vedanta Sutra. Very pleasantly surprised to find everyone knowing that there is a Krama Mukti. This is called Krama Mukti, the path of slow liberation. Slow means over lifetimes. Then there is something else called Sadhyo Mukti. Sadhyo Mukti means instant liberation. Instant means at the end of our lifetime. Nobody thinks faster than that in general. Those who think like that, they are on Ragaman. Somebody wants Krishna now means today. Immediately I want it. We even give up infrastructure. Give up even Varna Dharma, Ashrama Dharma, Stri Dharma. That is like saying that there are some who want to go to Vrindavan. Immediately catch the next train, go general compartment, just go jump into it and go. Whether you are happy, unhappy, crowded, uncrowded, whatever, just go. You have money, no money, go. That's kind of irrational attainment they want. So in that track 3 is all like that. There is one book written by one impersonalist whose title I like actually. Believe in the God who believes in you. A fully impersonalist fellow. But the title I liked it very much. Believe in the God who believes in you. So track 3, they're all like that. I'm running towards Krishna, and that's it. There was one proper disciple who once explained how he gave an example of somebody who knew there was another proper disciple who had taken sannyas. But a few years back, he was a Grihastha, and he had a small daughter. So somehow or other, this sannyasi was also the GBC of the temple where his daughter was also there. So one day, the sannyasi is sitting inside some temple management meeting and they're discussing something. So I don't know if you've seen, just like Prabhupada's room, we have that kind of a table, low table. So he was also sitting behind that. This is somewhere in Europe. He's sitting this side. And there's a whole discussion going on with everybody around. So suddenly that small girl, maybe 3 or 4 years old, she appeared and she was a door. So somewhere from that she saw, "Oh, Papa!" And she doesn't care for anybody. She's sannyasi, she doesn't care for all this. Just jumped across all these devotees. So this, the father of that child, he had to jump and hold the child, otherwise he would have fallen on the table and broken her head. But the child was absolutely confident that the father will take care. So Nirapekshas are all like that. Something they will do, want to serve Krishna, chant, chant, chant. Please avoid offenses, do everything properly. This is their idea. That's why Krishna is also like, Krishna is also like that. He himself comes to Delhi. He bypasses the standard route. That's a route. He bypasses it. He himself comes and takes them. You see, in the Gaudiya Vaishnava line, we don't have a concept of Archaradima, the pathway, the royal pathway that we'll see in this chapter. We talk of, in fact, when one attains Prema Bhakti, in Samadhi, he's already attained the spiritual world. Or you can say he's allowed access to Krishna's pastimes, actually. So when he dies, he does not even know that it's only the external world they know that he has died. He is entered into some pastime, that's all. He doesn't even know that. Only, we all see that he has died. We can read the Mahatsava and so on, if we are fortunate to understand. That devotee doesn't even know, because they enter into the pastime. Anyway, there's a situation called Sambhoga, and there's something called Viraha. Prema Bhakti has got two phases. In both phases, he's always in remembrance of the Lord. Intense remembrance. Okay, let's continue. Text 17.
By human calculation, 1,000 days taken together from the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night.
This verse presents the idea that all planets such as Swarga and even Brahmaloka are destroyed because of the limitations of time. Those yogis who know that Brahma's day ends after 1,000 yuga cycles by human calculation, and also know that the night of Brahma ends after 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas, are called knowers of the day and night. One day of Brahma is 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas. These knowers of day and night are distinct from the knowers of day and night based on the movements of the sun and the moon. In this verse, knowers refer to persons situated on elevated planets such as Maharloka, who experience such days and such nights. The meaning is this. No, the meaning is clear from Prabhupada's own purport. Can someone read out Prabhupada's purport?
The duration of material universe is limited. It is manifested in the cycle of kalpas. A kalpa is a day of Brahma, and one day of Brahma consists of 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas or ages: Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. The cycle of Satya is characterized by virtue, wisdom, and religion. There being practically no ignorance and vice, and the yuga lasts 70 lakh 28,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, vice is introduced, and the yuga lasts
12 lakhs.
12 lakh 96,000 years. In the Dwapar Yuga, there is an ever greater
Even
decline in virtue and religion, vice increasing, and this yuga lasts 8 lakh 64,000 years. And finally, in Kali Yuga, the yuga we have now been experiencing over the past 5,000 years, there is an abundance of strife, ignorance, irreligion, and vice. True virtue being practically non-existent, and this yuga lasts 4,32,000 years. In Kali Yuga, vice increases to such a point that at the termination of the yuga, the Supreme Lord himself appears as the Kalki avatar, vanquishes the demon, saves his devotee, and commences another Satya Yuga. Then the process is set rolling again. These 4 yugas, rotating 1,000 times, comprise one day of Brahma, and same number comprise one night. Brahma lives 100 of such years and then dies. These 100 years by earthly calculation totals to 311 trillion and 40 billion years, Earth years. By these calculations, the life of Brahma seems fantastic and interminable, but from the viewpoint of eternity, it is as brief as lightning flash. In the causal ocean, there are innumerable Brahmas rising and disappearing like bubbles in the Atlantic. Brahma and his creation are all part of the material universe, and therefore they are in constant flux. In the material universe, not even Brahma is free from the process of birth, old age, disease, and death. Brahma, however, is directly engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord in the management of this universe. Therefore, he at once attains liberation. Elevated sannyasis are promoted to Brahma's particular planet, Brahmalok, which is the highest planet in the material universe and which survives all the heavenly planets in the upper strata of the planetary system. But in due course of Brahma and all the inhabitants of Brahmaloka are subject to death according to the law of material nature.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur, beginning from Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, all planets are temporary. All the jivas in those planets take birth again. But the person who surrenders to me, the object of pure bhakti, does not take birth again. It was said that Karma yogis and Ashtanga yogis who take shelter of mixed bhakti and Svanishta bhaktas do not take birth again. The purport of that is that pure bhakti is the final result or perfection of all these methods. Eventually, after attaining pure bhakti, they are delivered from repeated birth. 1,000 Kshatriya yugas of humans is one day of Brahma, and similarly, 1,000 Kshatriya yugas is one night of Brahma. Brahma, after living for 100 of such years, dies. The Brahma who surrenders to the Lord is liberated. Since this is Brahma's destination, the sannyasi of that planet do not have fearlessness eternally. Since this is Brahma's destination, where is fearlessness for a sannyasi of that planet? So, in other words, everywhere one will come across this great cause for fear. Everything will be destroyed. Everything will be taken away. And it will be destroyed very violently also. Again, when you reach Srimad Bhagavatam, you get to know. Destroyed in a very violent way. Okay, text 18.
At the beginning of Brahma's day, all new entities become manifest from the unmanifest state. And thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again.
Shri Baladeva Devotion. Those who are less advanced than the above-mentioned persons, who know about the day and night of Brahma, the inhabitants of Swarga, earth, and the lower planets, will meet destruction in each day of Brahma. See, anyone who's below will get destroyed. There are 3 worlds. See, it is like this. The universe is divided into 7 upper, 7 lower. Amongst the 7 upper, you have 3 plus 4. So the top 4, they are not destroyed at the end of every day of Brahma, necessarily. But the 3 worlds are destroyed by fire. But I think in Janaloka, they feel it too hot because of the fire and they go to the higher worlds. It's very terrifying, no? And every now and then you have to leave the place just because things get burnt up. But all of this arrangement is there to, at least out of fear, get out of this world. At least for that one reason, surrender unto me. That is Krishna's point. And Vaikuntha, you don't have these kind of miseries. At the commencement of Brahma's day, when Brahma awakens from sleeping state, all bodies, senses, objects of enjoyment, and places of enjoyment become manifest. At the commencement of Brahma's night, when it is time to sleep, they disappear within Brahma, caused by his sleep. The word avyakta in this verse does not refer to pradhana, since this verse is speaking of the daily creation and destruction, during which time the elements like ether remain intact. Thus, avyakta here refers to the sleeping state of Brahma. The devatas, animals, and humans situated in the 3 worlds are more temporary than Brahma in nature, since at the end of Brahma's night, they manifest from an unmanifest state. When night comes, they again merge into the unmanifest tattva. principle. Here the word avyakta does not mean pradhan, but rather Brahma state of sleep. 19.
Again and again, when Brahmas they arise, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated.
But if they all disappear, they may not appear again. This fear arises from the logic that once being destroyed, the thing will not manifest again. This verse refutes that idea. All moving and non-moving beings under the control of their karmas appear at the commencement of the day. The meaning here is that intelligent persons will become detached from this world, understanding that the world is disturbed by such a flow of birth and death. In this way, all the moving and non-moving entities, having repeatedly appeared during Brahma's day, disappear at the coming of his night. Dependent on karma, when day arrives again, they are born again. So if you carefully examine the situation, you'll find that there is, all our desirables will get destroyed at a particular point in time. Now, if they are actually destroyed forever, then at least half of the problem will be solved. But the problem is not solved even partially, because those desirable items or similar desirable items will reappear. And again, we will develop desires. And again, it will be taken away. Imagine if you are hungry and somebody gives you food, and while you are eating, they take the plate. And then again, they give you another plate. And again, while eating, again, they take it away. Then again, they give you a plate. And again, while eating, they take it away. So that is the situation in the material world. It's not like you are just starved to death. No, we won't starve you. We'll feed you. And while you want it, we'll take it away. So this is the problem created by Kala. This Kala Krita Dosha, defect caused by time. Prakriti has its own problems, because of the three modes of material nature, which we will study in the last 6 chapters. Then Kala has its own problem. Kala does this work, always destroying. Then there is karma, due to karmic reactions we have. That is a problem which we ourselves created. We cannot blame the environment for that. Okay. Purport? Yeah.
The less intelligent who try to remain within this material world may be elevated to higher planets and then again must come down to this planet Earth. During the daytime of Brahma, they can exhibit their activities on higher and lower planets within the material world, but at the coming of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. In the day, they receive various bodies from material activities, and at night they no longer have bodies but remain compact in the body of Vishnu. Then again they are manifest at the arrival of Brahma's day. During the day they become manifest, and at night they are annihilated. Ultimately, when Brahma's life is finished, they are all annihilated and remain unmanifest for millions and millions of years. And when Brahma is born again in another millennium, they are again manifest. In this way, they are captivated by the spell of the material world. But those intelligent persons who take to Krishna consciousness use my human life fully in the devotional service of the Lord. Chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
thus they transfer this life to the spiritual side of Krishna. And we blissful there, not make subject to such rewards.
So that is count number 7. Attaining the supreme means you have to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. The Prabhupada has printed it fully so many times. Bhaktivinoda. In this way, all the moving and non-moving entities having repeatedly appeared during Brahma's day disappear at the coming of his night. Dependent on karma, when day arrives again, they are born again. So according to their karmic reactions, they get their situations. Text 20.
And there was one this, in the Kalpa description, like we asked from Lord that I want to see the description.
Markandeya, she comes in Bhagavatam.
So So when he went into Lord's mouth, he saw that everything is intact inside. That Prabhupada writes there that it gives the living is like unmanifested state. Then again they manifest like that.
No, when he was outside, everything is being destroyed. And then when he was taken into the Lord's swallows him. He goes inside, everything is intact. There is a time between creation and dissolution. Then there is a time between dissolution and creation. So when things start getting destroyed, it is the time between dissolution and creation. But when he was swallowed inside, then he was experiencing what it is like between creation and dissolution. Between creation and dissolution is sthiti. Sthiti means everything is maintained. Everything is proper. And then Martin is thrown out. And again he sees everything is a big mess. That is a special arrangement just for him to understand the nature of this universe. All material exists, not only this one universe. Really, reality is very frightening. Very frightening. It's frightening because all our desirables will be taken away. And then they will reappear. That's another problem. And every time they reappear, again due to the force of our previous karma, previous vasana, again we will develop attraction and repulsion towards. Then we'll want certain things, we'll want to get rid of certain things. Same mess. Therefore, in 11th canto Lord Krishna, he teaches Uddhava. He says, if you just observe material existence, then itself you will understand this world is miserable. That is why in today's world, the modern civilization, they're very much focused on not seeing the reality of nature. They don't allow you to see the reality of nature. They keep distracting themselves in so many ways. They have TV, they have products, they have so many things. Somehow or other don't see reality. That's just keep thinking about other things and live in your own dream. So many ways. They don't want to see reality. Reality is too depressing. Text 20.
Yet there is another unmanifest nature, which is eternal and is transcendent to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that fact remains as it is.
The rebirth of everyone stated in verse 16 has been elaborated in verses 17 to 19 by showing the birth and destruction of all entities under the control of karma. Now, what the devotee attains is described. Superior to the avyakta state of the night of Brahma or Hiranyagarbha, there is another object which is very different and being the object worthy of respect. The remarkable qualities of that object are stated. This object is invisible since its very form is spiritual. However, by mercy, it can be perceived. This has been stated already in verse 14. This object is without beginning and is not destroyed when all bodies are destroyed at the end of Brahma's day. Krishna's superior spiritual energy is transcendental and eternal. It is beyond all the changes of material nature, which is manifest and annihilated during the days and nights of Brahma. Krishna's superior energy is completely opposite in quality to material nature. Superior and inferior nature are explained in the 7th chapter. 21.
That the is described as unmanifest and infallible. That is known as supreme expression. That place from which having attained the moon and attained it one never returns. That is what
That object, which I call Avyakta and Akshara, is called by the knowers of the Veda as the supreme goal. For instance, Kathopanishad, Purushanna Param Kinchit, Sakashtha Paramagati. There is nothing superior to this person. He is the highest supreme goal. Attaining that object, people do not take birth again. That object is myself. It is my splendid form. The use of the possessive is similar to saying consciousness is the swarupa of the jiva. But here Krishna is referring to himself. Of course, he himself is not different from his name, his form, his qualities, his pastimes, and his abode. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has described this object as Krishna's abode. That unmanifest state which was described as Akshara is called the supreme goal for all beings. Know this to be my abode. The jiva who attains that abode does not return. Prabhupada's purport. Somebody please read this. Very beautiful.
The supreme abode of the personality of Godhead, Krishna, is described in Brahma Samhita, Chintamani Bhava, a place where all desires are fulfilled. The supreme Lord and the supreme abode of Lord Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavan, is full of palaces made of such stone. There are also trees for desired trees that supply any type of vegetables upon demand, and there are cows and naturally cows which supply a limitless supply of milk. In his abode, the Lord is served by hundreds or thousands of verses of Archon Lakshmi, and he is called Govinda, the primal Lord and the father of fathers. The Lord is accustomed to blow his flute, Venam Parantam. His continental form is the most attractive in all the world. His eyes are like lotus petals, and the color of his body is like the color of clouds. He is so attractive that his beauty excels that of thousands of cupids. He wears satin cloth, a garland around his neck, and a peacock feather in his hair. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna gives only a small hint of his personal abode, Vrindavan, but he is the supermost planet in the spiritual kingdom. A vivid description is given in Brahma Samhita. Vedic literature, Kathopanishad 1-11 states that there is nothing superior to the abode of Supreme Godhead, and that abode is the ultimate destination. Purushan Parampanchit Sarkashta Paramavati. When one attends to it, he never returns to the material world. Krishna's supreme abode and Krishna himself are not different, being of the same quality. On this earth, Vrindavan, 90 miles southeast of Delhi, is a replica of that supreme goal of Vrindavan located in the spiritual sky. When Krishna descended on this earth, he sported on that particular tract of land known as Vrindavan, comprising about 84 square miles in the district of Mathura, England.
So this dham is not different from Krishna himself. Okay. Text 22.
Like replica, like in Govinda, they have made replica of Vrindavan. How that counted? That that is not.
No, that is all dependent on the consciousness of the practitioners of Krishna consciousness. Like that Prabhupada wanted actually. He wanted throughout the world. He wanted like that. The fact. That was the idea. He said it all. For those who cannot go to India, then Prabhupada wanted all these facilities. Be the part of Prabhupada's mission should be developed. But that consciousness is dependent on the practitioners.
Who is constructed
No, who are living there. Whereas like Navadi Pandit, because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whether we are sense or non-sense or semi-sense, whatever it is, the Dham has its own power. Because it's Krishna himself. Whereas other places, I like to create the consciousness. That's dependent on those jiva, those devotees who have taken the that is Dham, Krishna himself. So Mayapur, Vrindavan, Jagannath Puri, these are the prime spots for the devotionals. That is the reason why Rupa Goswami specifies one of the top 5 activities of devotional service. Dham is important actually. Dham is important. We require all kinds of help to progress in Krishna consciousness. We are supposed to live in the dham. If we cannot live in the dham, at least we should visit the dham. At least we should visit. So these are all very important, small activities, but very, very important. That too, in a place like Navadip Mandal, Mayapur, we get 1,000 times benefit. The extraordinary potency of the dham you only understand when you're out of the dham. When you're in, you may take it, familiarity breeds contempt. Too familiar with it, you may commit the offense of being very easygoing. But when you're deprived of it only, suddenly you realize. Here the very oxygen is filled with facility to practice Krishna. No, everything is pushing you towards adharma. Today is what adharma. No karma, jnana, yoga, pure adharma. So, great facility. Dham is something very important, very, very important. Those who are extraordinarily fixed in Krishna consciousness, for them it may not be. But even then, Prabhupada was sitting in America because Guru Maharaj told him to preach. But even then, every now and then he felt I should forget to it now. So after you attain love of God, then in any way that's constant. Even now, Bhakti, that it is there. One develops affection for the place where Krishna resides. So one naturally wants to be in Vrindavan. In Vedic culture, there's a concept of what is love, a general concept of what is affection. Affection, first of all, in affection, there is a consideration of who's superior, who's inferior. So when we're talking of the inferior's affection for a superior, it manifests in different specific ways. You want to be in the place of the object of love. And it's not simply love in the heart. What is the love? You're supposed to accept the vows of that object of love. Whatever he likes, you accept. Whatever he dislikes, you reject. So that is manifested even in the material 5 rasas that are found inside Vedic culture. You'll find that. This is how to be a servant. This is how to be an admirer. So Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, Masuri, everything is well defined. This is how to be a wife. This is how to be a parent. Everything is defined. So now everything is seen in its original form in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, everything is spontaneously manifested in this particular manner. So therefore, devotee wants to be with Krishna. Wants to be with Krishna. Wants to be with Krishna means he doesn't want to bring Krishna to his home. He wants to go to Krishna because Krishna is the boss. That conception is there in all the 5 rasas of Prema Bhakti. That Krishna is the master. Krishna is the one. He is the master. I am inferior, he is superior. That concept is there. Krishna can leave Vrindavan and go to Mathura and Dwarka. Okay. Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj will never do things like that. Krishna will leave Radharani and the gopis and go off to Mathura Dwarka. Radharani and the gopis will never go. When in Vrindavan, they'll fight with him, everything to make him happy, they'll do all these things. But they will never leave and go. Boss. Ekale Ishwara Krishna is the master. Master means he does whatever he wants. Swatantra Ishwara. They cry, they're happy, they're unhappy, whatever it is, he doesn't care. What he wants to do, he'll give some excuse and go off. He'll write letters saying that I'm always thinking of you, all these things he will do, but he will not do. That is a master. That is a master. So in all the 5 rasas, they accept them. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adivela, that's why Raghu Goswami explains it very nicely. Ultimately, everybody thinks that they are servant of Krishna. Even Radharani, Kaviraj Goswami says, Radharani ultimately thinks she is a like servant of Krishna. Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda, they also think they are servants of Krishna. That is all manifest during separation. When Krishna is unmanifest to them, then all of this reality comes. Because in Krishna's presence, they serve Krishna with certain attitudes and with certain activities. You will see that in necro devotion, with certain attitudes, power, and certain endeavors, cheshta. But in reality, internally, they all accept Krishna as the master. We don't accept that, we cannot. Okay, let's move on. Text 22.
Tani Bhutani Yeva Sarvam Idam Tatham. The supreme personality of God who is greater than all is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present with his abode, he is all pervading and everything is situated within him.
This verse explains the easy method of bhakti for attaining the Lord. That person who is myself is attained by exclusive bhakti alone. That was previously described in verse 14. I can be attained by bhakti, but I'm difficult to attain by bhakti mixed with Ashtanga Yoga. The qualities of that Lord are then described in the next line. Everything is within him, and by him this whole universe is pervaded. The Shruti describes the Lord similarly. The Supreme Person situated in that unmanifest state is attained by pure bhakti. O Partha, all beings exist within him. I, that person, enter into everything as the Antaryami, the inner ruler. It is here clearly stated that the supreme destination from which there is no return is the abode of Krishna, the Supreme Person. The Brahma Samhita describes the supreme abode as Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, a place where everything is full of spiritual bliss. All the variegatedness manifest there is of the quality of spiritual bliss. Nothing there is material. That variegatedness is expanded as the spiritual expansion of the Supreme Godhead himself. For the manifestation there is totally of the spiritual energy as explained in chapter 7. As far as this material world is concerned, although the Lord is always in his supreme abode, he is nonetheless all-pervading by his material energy. So, by his spiritual and material energies, he is present everywhere, both in the material and the spiritual universes. Yasyanta Sthani means that everything is sustained within him, within either his spiritual or material energy. The Lord is all-pervading by these two energies. To enter Krishna's supreme abode or the innumerable Vaikuntha planets is possible only by bhakti, devotional service, as clearly indicated here by the word bhaktya. Actually, look at the word meanings. In the second line, you'll find bhaktya, by devotional service, labhya can be achieved, which indicates that the Supreme Personality can be achieved by devotional service. Tu means but that Supreme Lord, Supreme Person can be achieved by devotional service. Ananyaya, unalloyed, undeviating. But the Supreme Personality can be achieved by unalloyed, undeviating devotional service. This kind of bhakti is possible only by bhakti, and devotional service as clearly indicated here by the word bhaktya. No other process can help one attain that supreme abode. The Vedas also describe the supreme abode in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eko Vashi Sarvaga Krishna. In that abode, there's only one Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose name is Krishna. He is the supreme merciful deity. And although situated there as one, he has expanded himself into millions and millions of plenary expansions. The Vedas compare the Lord to a tree standing still, yet bearing many varieties of fruits, flowers, and changing leaves. The plenary expansions of the Lord who preside over the Vaikuntha planets are four-armed, and they are known by a variety of names. Purushottama, Trivikrama, Keshava, Madhava, Aniruddha, Rishikesha, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Sridhara, Vasudeva, Damodara, Janardana, Narayana, Vamana, Padmanabha, etc. The Brahma Samhita also confirms that although the Lord is always in the supreme abode, Goloka Vrindavan, he is all-pervading so that everything is going on nicely. Goloka eva nivasat yakhilatma bhutava. As stated in the Vedas, Parasya Shakti Vividhaiva Shruyate Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriyacha. His energies are so expansive that they systematically conduct everything in the cosmic manifestation without a flaw, although the Supreme Lord is far, far away. So he delegates the task of taking care of this material world to his material energies. They take care. Okay, 23.
Yatkaleto namritam mabrutam chaiva yoginah prayatam yantika kalam bhaksyami bharata sarva. O best of the Bharata, O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which, passing away from the sword, the yogis does or does not come back.
The Lord has said that the devotees do not return to this world and those averse to the Lord return. By which paths do the devotees and those following Kamya Karmas travel so that they do not return or return? So the devotees meaning the Swanishta and Paranishta devotees. Kala. Yatra Kale and Prayata Yanti Tam Kalam. See Kale, Kalam, Kale, time, Kalam, time. So here this word Kala, it actually does not refer to that event of time. It refers to the deities who preside over time. There are particular demigods or demigoddesses who take charge of particular places, who take charge of particular times also. So there are some who preside over particular times. Though Agni or Dhuma are not related to time, the word Kala is still used in a more general sense because most of what we are going to come across in text 24 and text 25 certain pathways, and most of the milestones have some relationship with time. The word Kala can also refer to the path protected by the series of devatas starting with Agni and by the series of devatas starting with Dhuma. I will come back to this to clarify what it means. 23, huh? Okay, someone please read out Dhuna.
Here devotees attain me without suffering, but those who do not attain to me and have attraction of karma and jnana can attain me only with much difficulty. The time and path of going is limited by place and power. I will describe them, please listen. I will explain the time when yogis on dying do not return and the time when on dying they return.
Time means when they are under the influence of that particular deity. That's what it means. The unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Lord who are totally surrendered souls, these are track 3, Nirapakshas, do not care when they leave their bodies or by what method. They leave everything in Krishna's hands and so easily and happily return to God. But those who are not unalloyed devotees and who depend instead on such methods of spiritual realization as Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga, must leave the body at a suitable time in order to be sure of whether or not they will return to the world of birth and death. If the yogi is perfect, he can select the time and situation for leaving this material world. But if he's not so expert, his success depends on his accidentally passing away at a certain suitable time. The suitable times at which one passes away and does not come back are explained by the Lord in the next verse. According to Acharya Baladev Vidyabhushan, the Sanskrit word Kala used here and refers to the presiding deity of time. So when we come under the influence of particular deities of time, then we will be given certain benefits. Text 24.
Agnirijyotirtah shukla sanmasa uttarayanam tatra prayata gacchanti brahma vido jana. Those who know the Supreme Brahman attain the Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery god, in the light at the auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6th month when the sun travels in the north.
This verse speaks of the path of no return. Chandogya Upanishad says, I'll read out the translation. On dying, such persons, whether they undergo cremation rites or not, go to the deity of light. From the deity of light, they go to the deity of the day. From the deity of the day, they go to the deity of the waxing fortnight. Waxing fortnight, the deity of Shukla Paksha. There is the bright fortnight and there is the dark fortnight. I think the bright fortnight starts with, Shukla Paksha starts with Purnima. Correct. So then, from Amavasya, from the no moon night up to the full moon night, I think that is called the waxing fortnight or the bright fortnight, Shukla Paksha. And from Purnima, full moon night, to Amavasya, the no moon night, that is waning fortnight or the dark fortnight. From the deity of the waxing fortnight, they go to the deity of the 6 months leading to summer solstice. From there, they go to the deity of the year. From the deity of the year, they go to the deity of the sun, then to the deity of the moon, then to the deity of lightning. Amanava Purusha. Here, then there is someone called Amanava. He's an associate of the Lord. He takes them to Brahman, meaning the Supreme Lord. This is the path of the Devas, the path of Brahman. Those who go by this path do not return to repeated human birth. The meaning is this: when persons who worship Brahman die, whether their sons or disciples perform cremation rites or not, in either case, because of their uninterrupted worship, those worshippers go to their object of worship by means of the deity, starting with the deity of the light. The rest is clear. Between the deity of the year and the deity of the sun, the deity of air should also be inserted. Following the deity of lightning, there should be inserted the deity of water, Indra and Brahma. Because from various scriptures, you find these details. So the entire route is there. So you're first taken to one demigod, then another demigod. So each one takes you. The Amanava mentioned in this verse refers to an eternal associate of the Supreme Lord. That is his service, in fact. When those who are fully liberated or fully ready for getting out, he's the one who goes from the spiritual world and takes him. So he's at the last leg of the transport system. The writer of the Vedanta Sutra has also mentioned these deities. Therefore, the devotees go to the Lord by the path served by 12 devatas, the deities of light, day, waxing fortnight, 6 months leading to the summer solstice, year, air, sun, moon, lightning, water, Indra, Brahma. So all of them are following the orders of the Lord in order to take these living entities. They do not return to the material world. The commentators have said the liberated soul goes to the Lord through the light, the day, the waxing fortnight, the solstice, the year, air, the sun, the moon, lightning, water, Indra, and Brahma. This is a standard route. Okay, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Someone should read Bhaktivinoda.
When the knower of Brahman view of the body at the time of fire, light, auspicious day, the waxing fortnight, and northern course of the sun, Uttarayan, they attain Brahman. The word fire, Agni, and light, Jyoti, refers to the Devta presiding over light. The word day, Ahan, refers to the Devta in charge of the day. Shukla refers to the Devta presiding over the waxing fortnight. Uttarayan refers to the Devta in charge of Uttarayan. Satisfaction of the mind and other senses at the time with those items is the dying at this time. The yogi does not return to this world.
So dying at this time means dying under the influence of these deities. When fire, light, day, and the fortnight of the moon are mentioned, it is to be understood that over all of them there are various presiding deities who make arrangements for the passage of the soul. At the time of death, the mind carries one on the path to a new life. If one leaves the body at the time designated above, either accidentally or by arrangement, it is possible for him to attain the impersonal Brahmajyoti. Mystics who are advanced in yoga practice can arrange the time and place to leave the body. Others have no control. If by accident they leave at an auspicious moment, then they will not return to the cycle of birth and death, but otherwise there is every possibility that they will have to return. However, for the pure devotee in Krishna consciousness, there is no fear of returning, whether he leaves the body at an auspicious or inauspicious moment by accident or arrangement. 25.
Krishna Kshama Sadashanayana Tatra Chandra Sanjyoti. The mystic to pass away from this world during the smoke, the night, the fourth night of the waning moon, or the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, features the moon planet, but again comes back.
Now the Lord speaks of the path of return. Chandogya Upanishad says, the householders who perform sacrifices, social work, and charities go to the deity of smoke. From there, they go to the deity of night, the deity of the waning fortnight, the 6 months leading to the winter solstice, but do not reach the deity of the year. From the winter solstice deity, they go to Pitraloka. From there to ether, from ether to the deity of the moon, King Soma. They become food for the deities. They become food for the deities means they are enjoyed by the deities. That's what I mean. When you go to the upper worlds, you're actually going as a worker. You're not going there. I mean, you enjoy more than the human world, but actually you're being hired. So you're working there. So you're considered, sometimes the Upanishads talk like this, they become food for the deities, and the deities enjoy them. Sometimes they say that you become dasas, slaves of the deities, a different expression that I used. Having exhausted their punyas there, they then return to earth on the path. Attaining the planet of the moon by performance of Kamya Karma through the path protected by 8 devatas carrying out the orders of the Lord. They return to earth after their enjoyment is over. That's text 25. By devatas in charge of smoke, the night, the waning fortnight, the southern course of the sun, and the light of the moon, or by the action of the senses, the karma yogis, by karma such as Ishtapurta, attain the path of return. These are Sakama karma yogis. This is now the standard Nishkama karma yogis. Prabhupada's purport. In the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapila Muni mentions that those who are expert in fruitive activities and sacrificial methods on earth attain to the moon at death. These elevated souls live on the moon for about 10,000 years by demigod calculations and enjoy life by drinking Soma Rasa. They eventually return to earth. This means that on the moon, there are higher classes of living beings, though they may not be perceived by the gross senses. So the entire celestial world appears to be having more of a subtle component, which also explains, how so many fantastic activities can happen because it's subtle. So different things are there. 26.
According to Vedic opinion, there are 2 ways of passing from this world, one in light and one in darkness. When one passes in light, it does not come back, but when one passes in darkness, it returns.
This verse summarizes the 2 paths. The path of light is called Shukla or white because it consists of enlightenment. The path of smoke is called Krishna or dark because it is devoid of enlightenment. These 2 paths are accepted to be without beginning by those of this world, qualified respectively for jnana and karma, because samsara itself has no beginning. These 2 paths of light and darkness are eternal paths in this world. By the path of light, one does not return, and by the path of darkness, one returns. So these are the eternal pathways, which means that these are presented in the eternal Vedic scriptures. The Vedic scriptures do not teach you how to go to hell. So the pathway of going to hell is not brought out here. There's a third pathway, from third canto of Bhagavatam. Those who engage in adharma, they are taken to hell. But that is not prescribed. So since it's not prescribed or recommended or anything, Lord Krishna does not care to describe it here. We will come across it later. Chapter 16. The same description of departure and return is quoted by Acharya Varadev Vidyabhushan from the Chandogya Upanishad. Those who are fruitive laborers and philosophical speculators from time immemorial are constantly going and coming. Actually, they do not attain ultimate salvation, for they do not surrender to Krishna. There are always people who, living entities who go up and who come back. Amazing, huh? They can go all the way to Brahmaloka also when they come back. No desire to again Vaikuntha. Okay, 27.
Yogi all the devotees know these two parts, they are never being learned. Therefore, we are restrictions.
Understanding these two parts clearly is a cause of developing discriminating intelligence. This power of discrimination is praised in this verse. Knowing these two parts, understanding that the path of light leads to liberation and the path of smoke leads to rebirth, the yogi, my devotee, is not bewildered. He does not believe in the necessity of prescribed actions which lead to the path of smoke. Be fixed in samadhi, Arjuna, in order that you will not return. In other words, those who are going by the pathway of light, they are not attracted to the materialistic activities which are permitted as Kamya Karma. Because it's because of Kamya Karma that you go to the pathway of darkness, the pathway of the smoke, as it is described. Knowing the difference between these two paths, taking support of the path of Bhakti Yoga beyond these two paths, it's Nirapeksha path. The person with attentive mind is not bewildered at any time. Knowing the sufferings encountered on both paths, he takes support of pure Bhakti Yoga. Oh Arjuna, take support of this yoga. Krishna is here advising Arjuna that he should not be disturbed by the different paths the soul can take when leaving the material world. A devotee of the Supreme Lord should not worry whether he will depart by arrangement or by accident. The devotee should be firmly established in Krishna consciousness and chant Hare Krishna. He should know that concern over either of these two paths is troublesome. The best way to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness is to be always dovetailed in his service, and this will make one's path to the spiritual kingdom safe, certain, and direct. Safe, certain, and direct. The word yoga yukta, engaged in Krishna consciousness, is especially significant in this verse. One who is firm in yoga is constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness in all his activities. Sri Rupa Goswami advises, Anasaktasya Vishayani Yatharham Uyanjataha. One should be unattached in material affairs and do everything in Krishna consciousness. This system, which is called Yukta Vairagya, one attains perfection. So that's what is Yoga Yukta. So, as explained by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Prabhupada, this is actually Krishna's inner intention, that don't go through the pathway by which you will return. And don't go through the slow pathway also, the pathway adopted in track 1 and track 2. You simply engage in devotion service, which in the pathway as adopted by the Nirapekshas. Therefore, the devotee is not disturbed by these descriptions because he knows that his passage to the supreme abode is guaranteed by devotion service. That's good. Yes.
Yes, Yukta Vairagya means victory. Or not necessarily.
Vairagya can be applied everywhere, actually, but it's very prominent in the third track. It is the urgency that makes sure that forces the practitioner, Nirapeksha practitioner, to accept everything only when it is favorable for his attainment. So even though Vairagya is commonly prescribed everywhere, all transcendentalists, slow or fast, they have to accept it. But he accepts it to a very high degree. So the Jnana and Vairagya that is accepted by Nirapeksha is very high actually. It is Bhagavad Jnana, it's not Brahman, it's not impersonal knowledge, nor is it just about Paramatma. But he knows, it's because he knows that his faith and enthusiasm is reinforcing and making him fixed in Kevala Bhakti. Without that, he will come back. So he'll, because so that he doesn't fall down to a lower status. His Jnana Vairagya is the highest type. It's the third stage of here. Everything that is brought out in 3 stages in track 1 or in 2 stages in track 2, all of that Jnana Vairagya comes here. So it is all one bumper, detachment, realization. He does not go through so many lifetimes of experience. Simply through the process, he gains the same experience. Similarly, he doesn't go through his whole life. Just through his focus itself, he is gathering that experience. Krishna reveals it. He reveals the nature. Krishna reveals the nature of the material world to him also.
On the track 3, Vairagya is maximum.
Vairagya and Vidya is also maximum.
Plus Yukta.
That's natural. Yukta Vairagya simply means Bhakti Anukul Vairagya. And then Vidya also means Bhakti Anukul Vidya. Not just Gunibhuta Bhakti or Pradhanibhuta Bhakti. It's Kevala Bhakti Anukula Jnana, Kevala Bhakti Anukula Vairagya. That kind. So it would actually be of the highest type. So we notice like the perfected souls in the 3rd track. The Vairagya that they exhibit is superlative, unheard of in Vaishnava history almost. Even in the 2nd track, there are realized souls, fully realized souls, but they don't exhibit that kind of Jnana Vairagya. Text 28.
A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from obtaining the results, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and spiritual activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end he reaches the supreme eternal abode.
This verse describes the type of knowledge described in the 7th and 8th chapters. Results such as Swarga or a kingdom are promised from thoroughly studying the Vedas, while following rules such as observing celibacy and serving the Guru, from precisely performing sacrifice complete with all parts, from correctly undergoing austerities according to the rules of scripture, and from giving charity in the proper manner with faith while examining the suitability of place, time, and person. But all of these promised results are surpassed by the yogi, my devotee. How does he surpass all of this? Knowing the glories of myself and my devotee mentioned in chapters 7 and 8, by the mercy of devotee association, he considers all those other activities as insignificant as grass, devoid of the happiness they promise. That yogi, having become filled with devotion to me, attains my abode, which is without beginning and beyond the illusions of the material world. The amsha of Krishna, the Purusha, is obtained by bhakti mixed with yoga through the path of light. But Krishna himself is attained only through Ananya Bhakti. This is explained in the 8th chapter. Bhakti Vinod. Can someone read out Bhakti Vinod?
Taking support of Bhakti Yoga, we will not be cheated of any result. We will attain by Bhakti Yoga the original and supreme place, surpassing the results of all types of jnana and karma, obstructing the results, performing the austerity and sanctity. When performing my bhajan with pure faith in devotee association, Anartha see, this faith transforms into Nishtha. Even before faith, all sins disappear. But contamination of thoughts related to material purpose and foolish to worship human. By performing bhajan in association for devotees, that will be. Anartha in the tattva of bhajan are sentiments mixed with jnana, sentiments mixed with yoga, and sentiments spoiled by bhakti and being purified of all these anarthas. The tendency for bhakti becomes pure, and one takes shelter of the Lord, the pure Tattva. This is the essence of the 8th chapter.
This verse is a summation of the 7th and 8th chapters, which particularly deal with Krishna consciousness and devotion service. One has to study the Vedas under the guidance of the spiritual master and undergo many austerities and penances while living under his care. A brahmachari has to live in the home of the spiritual master just like a servant, and he must beg alms from door to door and bring them to the spiritual master. He takes food only under the master's order, and if the master neglects to call the student for food that day, the student fasts. These are some of the Vedic principles for observing brahmacharya. After the student studies the Vedas under the master for some time, at least from age 5 to 20, he becomes a man of perfect character. Study of the Vedas is not meant for the recreation of armchair speculators, but for the formation of character. After this training, the brahmachari is allowed to enter into household life and marry. When he's a householder, he has to perform many sacrifices so that he may achieve further enlightenment. He must also give charity according to the country, time, and candidate, discriminating among charity and goodness and passion and in ignorance as described in Bhagavad Gita. Then, after retiring from household life, upon accepting the order of Vanaprastha, he undergoes severe penances, living in forests, dressing with tree bark, not shaving, etc. By carrying out the orders of brahmacharya, householder life, Vanaprastha, and finally sannyas, one becomes elevated to the perfectional stage of life. Some are then elevated to heavenly kingdoms, and when they become even more advanced, they are liberated in the spiritual sky, either in the impersonal Brahmajyoti, or in the Vaikuntha planets, or Krishna Loki. This is the path outlined by Vedic literatures. The beauty of Krishna consciousness, however, is that by one stroke, by engaging in devotion service, one can surpass all the rituals of the different orders of life. The words idam viditva, idam, this, viditva, knowing this, indicate that one should understand the instructions given by Sri Krishna in this chapter and the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. One should try to understand these chapters not by scholarship or mental speculation, but by hearing them in association with devotees. Chapters 7 through 12 are the essence of Bhagavad Gita. The first 6 and last 6 chapters are like coverings for the middle 6 chapters, which are especially protected by the Lord. If one is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad Gita, especially these middle 6 chapters, in the association of devotees, then his life at once becomes glorified beyond all penances, sacrifices, charities, speculations, etc. For one can achieve all the results of these activities simply by Krishna consciousness. One who has a little faith in Bhagavad Gita should learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee, because in the beginning of the 4th chapter, it is stated clearly that Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees. No one else can perfectly understand the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. One should therefore learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee of Krishna, not from mental speculators. This is a sign of faith, Adav Shraddha. When one searches for a devotee and fortunately gets a devotee's association, Tata Sadhu Sangha, one actually begins to study and understand Bhagavad Gita. By advancement in the association of the devotee, one is placed in devotion service, Bhajana Kriya. And this service dispels all one's misgivings about Krishna or God and Krishna's activities, form, pastimes, name, and other features, anartha nivritti. After these misgivings have been perfectly cleared away, one becomes fixed in one's study, nishtha. Then one relishes the study of the Bhagavad Gita, ruchi, and attains the state of feeling always Krishna conscious, asakti. In the advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna, bhava. The highest perfection stage of life, this highest perfection stage of life enables the devotee to be transferred. Now, I think in the advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna as prema. This highest perfection stage of life enables the devotee to be transferred to Krishna's abode in the spiritual state, Goloka Vrindavan, where the devotee becomes eternally happy. This is the pathway, standard pathway. 7 times Prabhupada has told us we can very much. So everybody, before attaining Goloka Vrindavan, has to come to the point of Prabhupada. For that, we have to become so fixed in Krishna consciousness that we have to somehow manage to come up to the point of Kevala Bhakti as a Nirapeksha. Okay, so we'll stop with that. Hmm?
Here. Previously, it's from a Jiva falls down from, there is a concept that from the spiritual world, nobody can fall down. We are always here, because our Gita says, whoever goes there, he never falls down. So is it the, what you call the Anartha Tattva or Vibhama, or what is that, what we don't know?
I didn't follow.
The concept of that the Jiva is always here, whatever is the material, ever can stand.
Okay.
Is it also the category of Tattva Vibhama, what you don't know?
I will definitely say so. There are lots of people who hate it. They have a major problem with that. No, I have that document. Where is that document? It is constantly debated because they are dissatisfied. They are dissatisfied.
Performance and it has to be encouraged.
Nonsense. It's not just Prabhupada, Bhaktivinoda is also saying, yeah. And you can, if you poke into this matter further and further, you'll find more and more evidence from the Acharyas also. There's one section of Sri Vaishnavas who accepted. So you cannot say it's just some Gaudiya problem. Some others also they accept. You want to see, you can see a whole document with quotations. Prabhupada, it's not, no interpretations added, it's just Prabhupada. Now, of course, you can say, I know all these things, and Prabhupada said all these things just to encourage Western people, because Western people cannot handle it. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he mentioned this in Kalyana Kalpataru. You cannot say that, that is also after British Raj to Prabhupada, that for reason. That is good. You've got nothing to do with it. It's just a simple point. It's Tatasa Shakti. Tatasa Shakti. It's Tatasa Shakti.
Krishna said 3-4 times that we are just on the previous chapter. And Acharyas, they commented, they say that chances are there, it can come back. So
No, they don't talk like that. It's not like that. It's not that you choose to come. It's not that you come back. What is it? It's a problem with Vaikuntha or what? There's no problem with Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha is perfect. You may not want it, that's all. What is there?
So Krishna, they didn't mention this thing also. And we'll have the freedom. You should not have said that.
Wait, he's just contrasting it. He's just contrasting it. He's contrasting it against the achievement of Brahmaloka and other places. You go there, you have to fall. Here, you don't fall. The simple thing, you just look at that one verse, A Brahma Bhuvana Loka. What is that verse number? Just look at the word meanings. You can 8.16. 8.16. Okay, let's look at that. Just A Brahma Bhuvanat, up to the Brahmaloka planet, Loka, the planetary systems, Punaha, again, Avartinaha. Arjuna, Arjuna. So up to the Brahmaloka planet, all planetary systems up to the Brahmaloka planet are those from which you have to return again. Mam unto me, Upetya, arriving to, but upon arriving at me, Kaunteya, son of Kunti, Punarjanma na vidyate. There's no reason. The direct contrast, no? You go to
that option is there, that if someone wants, he can come back.
it's the individual free will of the living entity that is always there. At any rate, even if you think that is all controversial, you open Bhagavatam and check. Okay, 700 verses too less. 18,000 verses. Look, no. Definitely. Of course. Read. ISKCON has been discussing about this from from 1970s during Prabhupada's time. From that time. Previously, they used to say, you didn't understand Prabhupada, you didn't understand. Now they say, no, we all correctly understand Prabhupada. We disagree with Prabhupada. That's all.
Well, the Sanskrit quotations are not there, that's why they can read. You said Bhagavad Bhagavatam, it is there.
No, it's a simple thing. It's a living entity, it's nature. It's a living entity. Why? There's no problem with the material world spirit. That's not, you always keep thinking that there's some gravity in the spiritual world which will make sure that I cannot leave the spiritual world. But there's no spiritual gravity, nothing like that. It's a Jivatma. It's a Jivatma.
I was not thinking like that, but like software, what Krishna said, I didn't say that. Ask to
Okay, you will ask Krishna. That's why you didn't say like, why you didn't say like that, so many things, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, there are many things he doesn't say. Like he doesn't say what the spiritual world is. He only says what the spiritual world is not. As he said, in one place you find no. Huh?
But he didn't say anything wrong.
He didn't say anything wrong. Even here, where he has said anything wrong. He's simply saying, never takes birth again. But never takes birth again. But if you want, you can do no. That's all.
He will never take birth. He said he never takes birth.
No. This is a normal situation. That's all. But if you want to leave that world, it's just like the heavenly planets. Heavenly planets, they are all the world of the immortals. Nobody dies there. Nobody dies there. Because you are kicked out and then you die. Nobody dies there. It's a fact. Because then Shastra itself will go wrong. So in that place, there's no birth and death. In the spiritual world, there is no repeated birth. It's a fact. There's no reincarnation in Vaikuntha world. In the spiritual world, it's not there. So what is the problem? No, I think the major issue is, now my own conclusion is it's a psychological problem. It is not a philosophical problem. What they want is they want a kingdom of God where I can continue irresponsibly in spiritual happiness and bliss. That's what they want, and they're looking for that. And then there are some devotees nowadays who openly say that that's what we want. Are you selling that product in ISKCON or not? They openly ask. That's what I want. I want a status where I don't have to think again. I don't want this bloody free will and all this. Don't want to hear all this. Can you give it up? That's it. And I openly say, no, that product is not available in ISKCON and actually outside ISKCON also. But you are not willing to hear. So you go and ask somebody else, and within ISKCON anyway, there are so many people who say that there's Fallvadi and non-Fallvadi. Non-Fallvadis are also all pervasive in ISKCON. You go talk to them, be friends with them. That's all. What can be done? You ask me, I'll definitely go on saying that no, it's a fact. It's a simple thing. Bhaktivinoda himself is saying it. And it's not just Bhaktivinoda, it's Bhaktivinoda. It's Baladev Vidyabhushan, it's Vishwanath Chakravarti. And if you go further, you will find it's there in the Sandarbhas also. You'll find it's the nature of the Jivatma. Just like matter will never change its nature. Just like Antaranga Shakti will never change its nature. Similarly, Jivatma will never change its nature. That's all. It makes no difference whether the Jivatma is in spiritual world, material world, or is in between in Brahmajyoti, wherever. Jivatma will be Jivatma, no? Or you say, or you have to say that no, but Jivatma in the spiritual world has to be made some deluxe version of Jivatma. Or I don't know, something like that. So they are perpetually dissatisfied. And there's no solution for that. I can very clearly and openly tell you that. What you're supposed to do, they want some status where they're just irresponsibly happy. Basically, they don't want responsibility for their continued existence in one particular status. They think that is material world. All the time. See, human being, now I have to do pious activities to be born as human being. So I have to worry about it. So now you're saying in the spiritual world also I have to worry that if I don't do devotion service of a certain type, I'll be kicked out. In order to get rid of this anxiety, I want to go to the kingdom of God, and there also I have to worry. But Krishna is the boss, living entity is the servant. That is that. That is that. Until I die in this life and in the next life also, I'll continue. It is so clear and simple and Straightforward, it's straightforward. It's the finest explanation I have found to this puzzle about the nature of Jiva. Tatastha Shakti, correctly, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has hit the nail on the head. Tatastha Shakti, Jiva. Matter, there's internal potency, there's external potency, and Jivatma is neither matter nor spirit. Of that type. Of that type. Perfect explanation. I am very satisfied. Ever paranoid. Oh, what if kicked out? What if nobody will kick me out? Why Krishna will kick me? He loves me more than myself. Even he has come to this world and he's trying to drag me. Why will he throw me away from the place that he wants to take me to? I'll put that quotation. You read that, and afterwards, if you're still dissatisfied, you will continue the dissatisfied. But Prabhupada very nicely explained. Prabhupada has thought about it in great detail. Like he says, you forced Krishna to give you permission to come to this world. So it doesn't look like you don't innocently just fall off from the spiritual world. If you go by Prabhupada's version, Krishna doesn't allow it, first of all. Krishna doesn't easily allow it. You have to really harass Krishna. Even then, Krishna allows it only when he himself accompanies. He comes with us. He comes with us. It is a guided fall down. He comes as a guide. He doesn't leave. In that one purport, he says, therefore, the conclusion is that no one falls from the spiritual world.
In purport to their episode, Prabhupada explains that first place, Krishna doesn't allow one to come from this. When you force very much to this extent, then only it comes with the.
Yeah. And that also he gives one the post of Brahma. He gives one the post of Brahma.
Purport to 15, no, does not wish to return. Devotee is saying time, does not wish to return.
No, it's not like that. It's a simple point. The nature of the spiritual world is nobody slips from these places. You don't slip from these places. So there's no accident. If you're bothered about an accident, there's no accident will happen. Whereas if you go to the heavenly planets now, first of all, why design is temporary. Yeah, fine. This issue comes up in Laghu Bhagavatam with the commentary also. Baladev will discuss it.
Krishna had one place to say that might be the future because no believe that much in Krishna devotees. In the similar way, like Acharya have said that option is there. If someone wants to come back, they can come back. But Krishna has not said this. But since all the pure devotees are saying that
There is not all this sentiment like this. The simple point, Jivatma is Jiva, that's all. That is the Shakti. What's the problem? I don't understand.
no, from this philosophical point of view, it was saying.
I'm telling you, it is pure philosophy. That is the Shakti, that is the Shakti. If you understand what is the meaning of Tatastha Shakti, you will not have this problem. Tatastha means that you are eternally that. It is not that circumstantially, right now, I have been brought into the Tatastha group. I'm eternally that. I'm eternally that, beginningless, endless, eternally that. That is the Shakti.
Actually, I can remember someone asked me, I never I am able to convince them.
No, you have to study. You have to study Chaitanya Charitamrita. You have to study. That is the distinction between the Ishvara and the Jiva. Mayadhish, Mayavash. There's only the Supreme Lord is incapable of coming under Maya. The Jivatma is always capable of coming under Maya. Sajivo, Muktopi, Prakriti Vasha Yogya, Swagunataha. It's tiny. Tatastha. Study. Listen to both the sides. Study. Examine. debate, argue, shout, scream, do that. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. But we should understand. You are my status here. Where is it? Let me post this. But there are devotees who are paranoid about it, they cannot handle it, they get frightened. There was one devotee who doesn't even look at my face because he's so, he said, it gets into my nerves, he said, I cannot think. Now, that means in my mind translates it as it is insecure. Despite all this talk about Tatastha Shakti, free will, whatever you may talk, in my mind, I hear only one thing: the spiritual world is insecure. I go to the spiritual world at some point, anything. Then I said, then what exactly you want? I said, I want Krishna to protect me from myself. Because I'm stupid. I did already something I'm doing. No, all stupid things I am doing. I may do some stupid thing there also. What if I go against the gopis? I don't know. So basically, irresponsible people are not allowed there. That's all. Simple solution Krishna already has. Irresponsible people cannot be there. That's all. This is Prabhupada's frank presentation. And how you can say this is, I'm not very convinced when they say that for the sake of preaching, Prabhupada brought it out. Because in the West, they actually dislike to hear Krishna. Generally, people generally dislike hearing all this. You can see in that reference which I presented. Prabhupada's, the people to whom Prabhupada is speaking, they constantly dissatisfied. Always, one after another. And finally, they just, out of frustration, they become silent. That also you can see. And Prabhupada doesn't care. So you cannot say that's a preaching strategy. By preaching strategy, you'll not frustrate people. By preaching strategy, you're supposed to make people happy. Anyway, I understood that it's a psychological issue, it's not a philosophical issue, so I don't know.